The country has a new national monument, and it's called the Ancestral Footprints of the Grand Canyon.
The United States has shut down the Grand Canyon after a drone captured what no one was supposed to see. What could this be? Is there something the U.S. government is hiding from the people? Join us as we dive into the mysteries embedded in the Grand Canyon.
The coffin lid was unsealed and ever so carefully lifted off. Inside, a perfectly intact mummy, wrapped in fabric with a bit of skull showing.
Grand Canyon's mystical underground cave. The Arizona Gazette caught everyone's attention on April 5, 1909, when it published a front-page item on some unusual relics and caves discovered in the Marble Canyon region of the Grand Canyon. The discovery was reportedly made by two archaeologists, supported by the Smithsonian Institute, G.E. Kincade, and Professor Jordan. The Grand Canyon serves as a living example of the wonders that Mother Nature and the Colorado River have accomplished over millions of years, and it is arguably one of the largest keepers of Earth's past. The river's flow has fashioned the canyon into what it is today through layer after layer of rock. Due to the breathtaking vistas, it has become a popular destination for travelers worldwide. However, it's not only attractive to look at. Years and years of research have yielded a wealth of interesting fossils, various types of rocks, and information on ancient history dating back to 1908. Plans were made to seal the area to preserve the natural wonder because President Roosevelt wanted to keep it safe from those who wanted to cut down trees or dig for gold. Simultaneously, a courageous explorer named G.E. Kincade pondered whether any wealth might be concealed in the rocks tucked inside the canyon. He was interested in discovering if he could uncover it before the government shut off the area entirely. So, he joined forces with a Smithsonian scholar named Jordan, and the two of them set out on this incredible journey down the Colorado River, deep into the Grand Canyon, approximately 42 miles from a location known as Elover Crystal Canyon. These two men discovered who they were around 2,000 feet above the canyon floor. They noticed something interesting. There was a staircase ascending to a large cave. It resembled a puzzle waiting to be answered. Jordan and Kincade were ecstatic beyond belief. Before, both of them were excited and hoped to uncover minerals and gold, motivated by the pleasure of exploring the unknown cave. However, as they descended the tunnel-like channel, things became more fascinating. Kincade said there was enough space at the entrance for several individuals to walk side by side. After descending another 60 feet, they came upon something astounding. Rooms off to the sides that appeared to be comfortable living spaces, complete with circular entrances and elaborate ventilation systems. Kincade and Jordan gradually realized they could have discovered something truly unique. Is this an old subterranean city similar to those in Turkey and other parts of the world? Their excitement increased upon discovering an enormous circular hall with a massive statue in the center that seemed to go on forever. The intriguing aspect about this is that it was discovered in a room that was fashioned like a cross and extended for many meters, roughly 30 meters from the entrance. They even discovered what may have been the primary god in their religion, an idol. This parallel between spiritual figures in our ancient world and the statue resembling a Buddha figure holding lotus flowers in each hand was reminiscent of a wild adventure tale. It's interesting to note that Kincade and Jordan had not embarked on this journey independently. However, certain whispers regarding the quest imply they were appointed. Why was the cave explored in the first place? According to a reliable source following their research, Kincade and Jordan returned to the Smithsonian to discuss their incredible discovery. When they saw how big this underground city was and how much possibility there was to unearth ancient relics, their goal was to get more people engaged in exploring this gigantic structure. However, things get extremely intriguing from this point on. Information regarding the Smithsonian's organization of Jordan's Grand Canyon expedition surfaced in January 2014. They went there to investigate some results John Wesley Powell had mentioned. This turn of events clarifies why Kincade and Jordan aren't included in the official Smithsonian archives. But is that all there is to it? Moreover, What was found in the cave? John Wesley Powell, the first director of the Smithsonian's Bureau of American Ethnology, is now another fascinating aspect of this tale. But Powell wasn't just any man. He served in the U.S. Army and headed the U.S. Geological Survey. In 1870, he even led the country's first scientific excursion down the Grand Canyon to investigate the Colorado River. Furthermore, he mentioned that he had discovered other caverns in that area. He and his colleagues discovered remnants of ancient civilizations along the river, including pottery fragments, a worn path, and hieroglyphs. Since Powell's time, people have been researching the history of the Grand Canyon. They have discovered over 400 Native American sites in Grand Canyon National Park, some as old as 12,000 years. Maybe Kincade had another goal: unearthing a cave that contained unique prehistoric relics and cultures. When you consider that Powell's explorations may have discovered something truly intriguing, things get even more fascinating. Whether it was a mystery discovery or gold minerals, there is no doubt that it was significant enough to draw Kincade and Jordan's attention. Though numerous tribes and native people have lived around the Grand Canyon and told eerie tales about it for decades, what Kincade ultimately discovered might not be entirely novel. Tribal tales suggest the existence of an underground society. The Hopi tribe has indicated in their history that it's possible their forefathers lived in an underground city within the Grand Canyon, which adds to the tale's mystery. Hopi legends passed down over the decades claim that people living in this cave would capture everyone who entered. This indicates that the location will someday turn into a subterranean jail. An elder named Anip told the story of two young women who entered the cave, vanished, and came back years later to describe the fascinating and exquisite underground world they had experienced. There's no denying that native legends lend another level of mystery to the Grand Canyon when you mix the official historical records of the area with their contributions to the larger picture. After Kincade and Jordan entered the cave, they realized that all those myths from the tribe might have come true. They were entering a foreign realm and finding a complex system. What they found in this cavern's depths could fundamentally alter our perception of human history. Expedition into the cave. The explorers discovered a treasure trove of copper tools, including knives, spears, and other oddities, as they ventured further into the cave. However, the engravings on the cave walls, which resembled Egyptian hieroglyphs and were found in the center of the United States, were what truly attracted their attention. They couldn't help but follow beautifully smooth granite stairs deeper into the caverns, not realizing the shock that was in store for them. They discovered strange, 35-degree slanted perforations in the walls of one of the larger chambers. They appeared to contain enormous human mummies. All of these mummies were covered in dark linen, and none measured shorter than 2.74 m. Kincade stated that he used a flashlight to take some pictures, but none of those images were ever located. This is where the argument begins. After Jordan and Kincade discovered the cave treasures, they aimed to notify the local Smithsonian officials as quickly as possible. However, what they ultimately encountered rendered them speechless. Kincade was enthusiastic about the information, the artifacts, and the mummies he had discovered. He was so excited that before leaving, he wrote notes, snapped photos, and even picked up a few items. After the expedition, he sent all the interesting artifacts to the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C., where he knew a few people. According to the Phoenix Gazette, by the time they wrote up their big story, a group of scientists had checked out Kincade's cave. They found even more tunnels leading off from the main one Kincade had entered, and these tunnels had opened up into huge rooms, some as big as 30 or 40 feet across, traveling nearly a mile into the rock. The researchers discovered a massive room with several passageways branching out of it. They discussed finding storerooms filled with seeds and a dining room measuring over 700 feet long. Additionally, the room smelled really bad, like something slimy and deadly. Archaeologists were said to have unearthed copper tools, weapons, gold-plated cups, ornate pottery, and even some writing in hieroglyphics. These artifacts suggested that the artifacts weren't from this area, but rather from the Orient. The shock came when Kincade tried to get some information about his findings from the Smithsonian, but all he got was silence. The Smithsonian today claims to know nothing. The Phoenix Gazette printed on its front page that the Smithsonian sent perhaps 30 or 40 archaeologists to assist Kincade with his trip. However, as of right now, there are no artifacts or records of this underground settlement. An individual from the Smithsonian claims that they are certain that none of this occurred because they have never discovered any valuable Egyptian artifacts in North or South America. However, why did the newspaper write such a thorough piece to never bring it up again? Some individuals believe there may have been communication with non-native people before Columbus's arrival in America, based on what they discovered in that cave. It casts doubt on the notion that all Native Americans are descended from Ice Age people, travelers traversing the straight line of Bering. Some people even believe that the town that Kincade discovered may include proof of ancient aliens. If this region is so rich in possibilities for learning more about the history of our planet, then why are the authorities hiding people's findings like Kincade's? There are rumors that the location of Kincade's cave is off limits to everyone, even park employees, allegedly for security reasons. There is much discussion on whether Kin truly discovered remnants of an old civilization, or if the whole thing was a hoax. These assertions have not been validated. However, hieroglyphs from the ancient Egyptian civilization have occasionally been discovered in the most unlikely locations. Consider the hieroglyphs of Australian Egypt. Travelers like Brian Forrester were not perfect. Next are reports from places like Moran County, Utah, where people claim to have encountered Egyptians. One especially interesting story is a deer hunting expedition that took an unexpected detour, leading the explorers to uncover rock formations. It's odd to find hieroglyphs in such an unexpected spot. They resembled tombstones and featured a massive rock with lettering in the shape of a heart fashioned in ancient Egypt. This raises important questions about how far off Egyptian influences could have spread worldwide many years ago. Ultimately, it's interesting that this wasn't the first time the Grand Canyon was connected to Egyptian civilization. Much of this parallel is connected to the names of the places in that area that connect to Egyptian civilization. If the Egyptians also left marks in the Grand Canyon, then covering it up could be harming our quest for knowledge about our past. Unexpectedly, an intriguing connection exists between the Grand Canyon and ancient Egypt. The names of some of the canyon's geological features, such as Isis Temple. The Horus Temple, named for the falcon-headed Egyptian sky god, is the next in line, honoring the Egyptian goddess of magic and healing. The canyon's characteristics also have allusions to numerous myths and tales. For example, the Apollo Temple honors the Roman god of light. Lastly, sites like GWI Castle and Galahad Point are named after characters from Arthurian legend. It turns out that the 19th century geologist Clarence Dutton, who conducted an extensive survey of the area in 1882, gave these names, rather than having them chosen randomly. Thanks to Dutton and his successors, the Grand Canyon is now a magnificent natural wonder whose aspects should represent the diversity of civilizations and religions practiced worldwide. The monuments in the Grand Canyon pay homage to various myths and tales. It's easy to accept that Kincade may have encountered another Egyptian world in the same region when you consider these locations of the Grand Canyon. But the mysteries in the Grand Canyon aren't connected only to Egypt. Keep watching to discover how. Adding to this is the Hopi Indian mythology, another legend surrounding the Grand Canyon. This suggests that the discord among various factions ultimately resulted in their withdrawal from the subterranean dwellings. The envoy from the Temple of the Sun failed to return, despite the head of the One Heart people's repeated requests for assistance. According to mythology, the Hopi people will reclaim their ancient territories someday when the messenger returns. This legend begs the question of possible ties between Egypt, Asia, and North America. Is it possible that there are unspoken hidden truths, or that the Native American site referenced in the legend is the underground city stated in the narrative, which is being kept secret out of respect for the native peoples? This could be the reason why further articles on the discovery haven't been released. In any case, there is undoubtedly a whiff of secrecy, possibly even a cover-up, around the Kinciade's findings. Could it be that the artifacts they found included cutting-edge technology that the people who found them could not comprehend then? Grand Canyon Mysteries. One of those contemporary mysteries is the potent Egyptian stone that can interfere with water, electricity, mirrors, and even magnetic fields. Whether these are true or merely hoaxes, they get you to consider all the potential outcomes that could be stashed away in that Grand Canyon cave. Are any traces of extinct or prehistoric societies close to the Grand Canyon's prohibited area? The Sai, which translates to the Ancient Ones or the Ancient Enemies, is one tribe that appears. These enigmatic individuals were dispersed over the southwest and left behind many odd stone constructions that baffled scientists. Locations such as Mesa Verde Choco Canyon's Mummy Cave at Four Corners, the canyons of the former National Monument, and Stanton's Cave were empty. By the time European settlers arrived, all that remained were ruins with finely constructed stonework that frequently followed the sun and moon's paths. You can also discover odd towers and hidden passageways known as kias. Most scholars now believe that the Anasazi vanished because they blended in with the so-called modern Puebloans. However, Navajo Paiute and Hopi stories state that a hostile and distinct ethnic group formerly inhabited the region. These longtime adversaries were likely driven out or eliminated before they came, but there may have been some mingling between them and the newcomers. In addition to these places, the territory also includes Stanton's Cave, which is not too far from the prohibited zone and close to South Canyon Camping Beach. Previously believed to be artificial, this cave is now tightly enclosed. The inside has a strangely placed ceiling that doesn't look natural and historical traces of past occupants. Various fascinating artifacts were discovered during an official excavation in the late 1960s. The stories of seeing the elusive Bigfoot in the Grand Canyon are intriguing but far less otherworldly. Some visitors to the remarkable geological formation have claimed to have encountered the humanoid lurking in the isolated spots and dense trees. Reports of this kind of encounter date back to 1903, when someone claimed to have seen a creature with long white hair and an untidy beard. After multiple sightings, this creature, dubbed the Mulan Monster after the mogul on the Colorado Plateau, was discovered to be naked and to have terrifyingly long fingers that resembled talons. Other sightings have cobbled together the creature's physical appearance. There have been claims of hearing a whistling sound and discovering footprints measuring 22 inches. Others claimed that the Mulan Monster smelled strongly like skunk or decaying fish. Individuals encountering this species have cautioned that it may turn aggressive and territorial. They have seen it sever the heads of deer and other wildlife and then devour them. The Grand Canyon surroundings would be a natural choice for an elusive monster because they provide excellent hiding spots. Additionally, because it is an omnivore, the creature would have plenty of food and live in a location that is difficult for curious humans to reach. Another myth that has endured and eventually died out is that there is a resident god called a Casina who lives in a remote area of the Grand Canyon. This god is revered as the Earth's protector and has a close bond with the region and its inhabitants. The Hopi people know this god, whose ancestral land is in some park areas. However, this Casina is not always known to act godlike. It is said that it enjoys torturing guests who approach too closely for comfort within his exclusive domain. People assert that this god can create storms, direct the wind, and even cause the earth to tremble. Some people claim to have experienced a confrontation with this vengeful god. They claim to have had an incredible sensation of terror and wonder while in its company. This god isn't the only evil, non-human creature that lives in the Grand Canyon. There have been tales of animals that the native people refer to as pakus, who are reported to like tricking guests or occasionally unsettling them. Some travelers have heard weird noises in the middle of the night, seen hazy figures in the moonlight, and felt a sudden chill in the air. All of these have been attributed to the Grand Canyon's pakus. The Sipapu is one location well known for these unusual events. Because of its special qualities, many Native American tribes believe that it serves as a portal to the afterlife, and that many crossings from the spirit world into the material world occur here. This is closely connected to another finding that was made using Google Earth. When a weird feature in the Grand Canyon that looked like a gateway was spotted, the internet went crazy. This intriguing phenomenon is around 250 miles from Las Vegas, and there have been numerous attempts to explain it, with some even suggesting that the gateway proves that aliens have visited Earth. The structure appears more intelligent than it could have ever formed by accident. Supporters of this theory contend that the doorway is a remnant of the period when extraterrestrial entities freely visited Earth and drastically altered our planet. This peculiar gateway is also connected to the ancient Egyptians and their pyramids. There is a theory that the entryway was erected by the same group of engineers who built the massive pyramids, adding another historical connection between the Grand Canyon and ancient Egypt. This is because of the almost unsettling similarity in architecture that this perplexing entrance shares with the more well-known historical sites in North Africa. The precise purpose of the gateway in this remote location is still up for question. Some theories include the door leading to hidden chambers, which houses enormous amounts of treasures, but in different dimensions. Some have even theorized that it is a one-way door that only permits admission, not entry into the planet, implying that extraterrestrials are involved. Critics question why aliens have not made more appearances or contact with humanity, if this door truly leads to another world. On the other hand, proponents have suggested that their lack of constant presence may be due to their coping with problems of their own, like finding a way to feed their growing population, or finding a source of energy. This distraction could leave them with little time to explore space. Others asserted that even though aliens can interstellar travel, they may have judged humanity to be a less fascinating race, making us an unappealing travel destination that they purposefully skip in favor of more lucrative missions. Maybe they've realized how far behind our technologies are and don't see any personal benefit to working with us. When we thought that was all about the Grand Canyon, we stumbled upon another shocking, bizarre storyline about this location. But what can we say about the Smithsonian? The Smithsonian. Over time, the Smithsonian evidence has also come under intense scrutiny, particularly after the Kincade cave scandal. In addition to the odd absence of documentation about Kincade and Professor Jordan in the Smithsonian's anthropology department, there is no paper trail of the artifacts that were ostensibly collected during their expedition. When questioned about Kin's claims, a representative of the Smithsonian Institute stated that they had never even participated in such excavations. With this evidence, it would be simple to assume that Jordan and Kin made up the whole story of their expedition into the cave. However, conspiracy theorists have a different interpretation of events. They contend the Smithsonian Institute purposefully destroyed objects to uphold a specific historical perspective. Some refer to artificial mounds with plaster walls dispersed over the Midwest of the United States, and a group of fire hune coffins found in Alabama in 1892. These coffins were allegedly sent to the Smithsonian Institute, but they vanished for no apparent reason in the following years. This episode heightened rumors that the organization had hidden some archaeological discoveries. Now, here are more incredible findings in the Grand Canyon. More discoveries in the Grand Canyon. Nestled in the canyon is an exceptional subterranean cave called the Cave of the Domes. The cave features remarkable domes that evolved over millions of years as the limestone walls were eroded. These domes are distinguished by the buildup of mineral deposits on the cave ceiling, resulting in their distinctive appearance. Tourists flock to the Cave of the Domes to witness the unique geological formations of the Grand Canyon. Guided tours are available, and the cave has reopened, allowing visitors to delve into the history and science underpinning this captivating natural phenomenon. Another distinctive geological feature of the Grand Canyon is the Coconino Sandstone, a rock layer that forms a significant part of its makeup. This rock layer is one of the many strange things found at the Grand Canyon. It stands out with its white to light gray color and unique texture, visible in many of the canyon's walls and cliffs. The Coconino Sandstone is believed to have been formed over 275 million years ago, during the Permian period, by ancient dunes preserved over time. This geological formation is evidence of the powerful forces that shaped the Grand Canyon over millions of years, and continues to attract geologists and tourists alike. Also, the Grand Canyon, with rock formations that date back nearly 2 billion years, is a geological marvel. It is also a rich source of fossils, containing a diverse collection of ancient plant and animal remains. Among the most renowned fossils discovered in the Grand Canyon are trilobites, extinct marine arthropods that lived over 500 million years ago. Additionally, other fossils discovered in the canyon include ammonites, which are ancient cephalopods related to present-day squid and octopuses, as well as brachiopods, bryozoans, and crinoids, which are all marine animals that lived millions of years ago. Petroglyphs and rock art are frequently observed throughout the Grand Canyon, as many ancient civilizations left their imprints on the canyon walls. While they're not exactly the most unusual things in the Grand Canyon, they're undeniably some of the most fascinating history-wise. These ancient artworks provide insight into the history and culture of the people who inhabited the area well before the arrival of European explorers. Dating back to around 10,000 years ago during the Archaic period, the oldest petroglyphs in the Grand Canyon consist of abstract designs and geometric shapes, often found in remote and inaccessible locations. While there are various myths surrounding the Grand Canyon, the Great Unconformity is a geological feature observed in the Grand Canyon and other regions worldwide. It occurs when millions or billions of years of rock layers are absent from the geological record, creating a significant discontinuity in the rock sequence. Within the Grand Canyon, the Great Unconformity is between the ancient Vishnu schist, which dates back over 1.7 billion years, and the Tapete sandstone, approximately 525 million years old. The missing rock layers represent a crucial part of Earth's history, and the causes behind this gap remain a topic of ongoing research and debate. Just another one of the many inexplicable things about the Grand Canyon. Next is the Supai Village. While this one isn't necessarily a discovery, it's unique in its own right. Supai Village is situated within the Havasupai Indian Reservation, located deep in the Grand Canyon in Arizona, USA. It is a tiny Native American community and is regarded as one of the remotest communities in the United States, accessible only by foot, horseback, or helicopter. The village serves as the capital of the Havasupai Indian Reservation and has a population of approximately 200 residents, predominantly Havasupai tribe members. The community is renowned for its striking natural beauty, with waterfalls, red rock formations, and turquoise pools encompassing the area. Tourists can trek or ride a mule to reach Supai Village and relish the stunning surroundings while exploring the local culture. The village allows tourists to spend a night and hike to nearby destinations like Mooney Falls and Havasu Falls. If you ever find your way to the Grand Canyon, ensure you visit the village. But before deciding whether to visit, here are stories strong enough to change your mind. In 1879, trader Don McGuire was crossing the Colorado River on his expedition through Arizona when he came across Emma Lee. In exchange for some of McGuire's needed goods, Lee gave him a beautiful Navajo blanket, but she warned McGuire of the cloak's dark past. According to the woman, the cursed blanket brought misfortune to her husband before his untimely death. McGuire, who was not superstitious, departed from the canyon the following day. Over the next 2 years, McGuire chronicled how he had suffered 100 calamities, which ended only after he lost the blanket. Such tales about cursed Native American relics are commonplace at the Grand Canyon. Park rangers consistently receive letters from tourists wanting to return artifacts stolen from sacred grounds. Pieces of pottery, for example, are often taken from Native American burial sites, only to be anxiously returned to the national park a short time later. Park rangers state that the thief's reasoning is always the same. They have experienced extreme bad luck, plagues, and other illnesses since picking up the stolen artifacts. The Grand Canyon is home to various dangerous animals that wander throughout the vast land areas within the national park. Mountain lions, black bears, and elk make up a fraction of the wide assortment of mammals, some of which have been known to charge without warning. Spermophilus variegates, a rock squirrel known for its ferocious bite and indiscriminate attacks, is surprisingly one of the more treacherous creatures in the park. One of the more bizarre encounters with the canyon's wildlife occurred in 1933. According to reports, a 43-year-old prospector from California named Cochran was hiking down Snake Gulch Path when he came across none other than a rattlesnake. Cochran, who was said to have been terrified of snakes, immediately went into cardiac arrest and died. Ironically, there has never been a reported death due to a rattlesnake bite in the Grand Canyon. Thanks for watching to the end, but while you're still here, check out the next video on your screen.